Hello and welcome to the Between Two Hearths stage, where we have got a lot of special treats in store for all of you this week. Come on in, come on closer, anyone that wants to come and check this out. We've got three very cool players that I'm sure you'll recognize coming in to give you some of their input on the tournament that we've got going on. You may have heard about it. There is the Hearthstone World Championship. It's currently going on in the room next door. But let's hear from some of these guys. Who wants to come up first? Someone give me a wave. Anyone? Ready? First up, we have got RDU. RDU, come introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. I am RDU from Romania, player for G2 Esports.
Anything else you'd like to say about that?
Not necessarily. Here to talk about the lineups and dissect.
Dissect. I know that you've been having a good look at the lineups. We were talking about them a few moments ago, but who are we going to be talking with? Firebat, why don't you come on up? You may know him as the first Hearthstone World Champion.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about yourself?
I am Firebat. I've been playing Hearthstone since 2014. Played in around like 100-ish competitive tournaments, so I've been doing this for a long time. Excited to be here and watch the World Championship. All
right, and lastly, one of the biggest streamers, I think, in Hearthstone, it's fair to say. Come on up, Thijs. Thijs, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm Thijs, uit Nederland, so a local one. And yeah, I've been streaming a lot, been competing everywhere, and just happy to be here now. Not playing, but still be happy to be here.
All right, awesome. One more round of applause for these guys. Let's sit down. All right, so first things first, guys. How are you enjoying the event so far? It's not been going on for long, but what do you think of the atmosphere and everything?
It's pretty nice. It's like a very big place here.
Yeah, confusing a little bit. There's a lot of back rooms. It's so big, you can very easily get lost. I know I've been wandering around the building for a while. Security giving me terrible looks. No idea where I'm going.
And Thijs, you're real local.
Yeah, no, well, I feel really honored that it's also here in the Netherlands. So one time now having the World Championship in Europe and the Netherlands is just really awesome. And yeah, just happy to be here and see so many people also coming already out just on day one.
Yeah, I mean, everything here, it's a really great setup. We've got the Between Two Hearths stage here. Have you all been into the play area?
Yeah, the player area is really nice. They have great little sandwiches. I don't know, I've tried the food from the influencer area, the player area, and the caster area, because I want to say hi to everybody.
This is what we're missing out on.
While you're there, you grab a snack, right? And the food in the player area, by far the best. The little pita sandwiches, you're going to want those ones.
And what about the actual stage that they're playing on, Radu? What do you think of it?
It's pretty big. Like also the audience, it's kind of set up as an inn. It's really nice and cozy.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to me, at least, how many people have turned up as well for the first day. You know, it's a Thursday at the moment, it's still a weekday, but still, people have come in droves to check out the tournament. It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and the weekend is going to be packed, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Well, today, as Radu said a few moments ago, we're going to be talking about the tournament going on, and specifically the lineups and the players. These guys have all got their predictions on who they think is going to win. So we're going to dissect, get into that, and find out who and why. So first, let's go through Choose Your Champion. And did you guys all manage to choose a champion?
Well, for me, it was a little bit awkward because I wanted to choose my champion, but it was too late. I wanted to do it yesterday, but it was already too late, so I didn't. I didn't, but yeah, we'll probably pick Colento. A little bit for the meme too, but of course, I also think he can do really well. But I also expect really high are the people that brought Mage. I think that's a really good pick. I've been also trying a lot of Control Mage, and I didn't figure it out last week yet, but now I really see the power, and I think it's the best control deck after the Priest and the Warlock.
Really? Wow.
So I think the people that brought Mage, I think it was Frozen and Scintillol. Just having that in the lineup, I think, can be really beneficial for the tournament.
Definitely. Well, we'll get into that a little bit more in a moment. How about you, Firebat?
I'm not a big believer in the Mage yet. I think there's a reason why no one was playing it.
Oof.
I think it's better when deck lists are concealed than when they're open. Mage is a class that's very exploitable when deck lists are open. You can kind of line up your threats and answers against it. Yep. Frostlich Jaina is a card that doesn't win if you're fatiguing first, and you can know how to fatigue people first if you know every card in their deck list. So I think Mage's power level was way down with open deck lists. But for me, deck lists aside, I kind of had to pick purple. He's a good friend of mine. He was my coach in 2014 when I won World Championship. We lived together for like 2.5 years. We lived together in Texas. We lived together in Michigan. So we played the game together a lot. So regardless of his decks, I think he's a player that just has the right attitude and the ability to win no matter what. So you know, I believe in my friend, and I hope he's going to take it.
How about you, Radu?
I also have the same problem as Thijs.
Oh.
I wanted to pick, but I was too late. I would have
You guys
picked.
had like a 3-week window.
Do you not care about your free packs? Free packs, guys!
Come
on!
That was the problem.
I would have picked my teammate Neria. I also helped him prepare, and I think he has a very good shot at this tournament. He's facing against Frozen in the first match, so it's going to be quite difficult because Frozen has the Mage, and the Mage is a very powerful deck, as Thijs said, in my opinion. But at the same time, the two people that brought Mage also brought Jade Druid.
2-1.
And I don't think Jade Druid is that great of a deck.
Right.
So like, it's going to, like, as good as Mage is, and as much as it makes your lineup better, Jade Druid is going to make it a little bit worse, I think.
That's an interesting conversation that I want to get into in a bit as well, because a lot of people are saying Jade Druid's one of the best decks in Hearthstone all year. And you guys have all been saying you don't think it's very good at all. So.
I think it's one of the worst decks to bring.
One of the worst decks to bring in the tournament. Jade Druid.
If you look at Jade Druid and you look at some of the statistics on the ladder and how Jade Druid's performing, a lot of people use Jade Druid to beat Priest. And we've had some streamers, some like high-level players do some like best of 21s Jade Druid versus Raza Priest to see, you know, is that matchup statistic accurate?
Yeah.
Or is it something that's kind of just shaped by the skill level of the average ladder player instead of the average pro player? And when put to the test, it was about 50-50 between Priest and Jade Druid. So the fact that people think that it just beats Priest every time is just not true. If you're able to play the Priest, or you're able to play differently and budget your resources more appropriately, you can definitely eke that up to closer to 50%.
Yeah.
And even if you beat Priest every single time, that's pretty much the only thing Jade Druid beats.
It loses to all the aggro decks. It beats Rogue.
It doesn't.
It beats Rogue.
It doesn't even beat Rogue.
It beats Rogue. It beats Rogue fine enough. It's like 55 versus Rogue.
It's not.
It gets
it's 45.
Destroyed. No, it's 55. I'll play you.
Can we set that up?
Let's go.
Can we have that right now?
So much later.
Later. All right, so there will be a match between Firebat and Radu later on to test that matchup. But okay, let's move on into the discussion of the current meta, though. So we're putting Jade Druid somewhere around the bottom, I guess. What do you think is the best deck at the moment?
Well, I think the meta in the tournaments are really made already around the Priest and the Warlock. Not necessarily just about targeting, but also ban strategy towards it. It turned out that Warlock is maybe just, I feel it's a really good ban now. You can just high roll Priest quite well still with a lot of your decks. Just even if you're unfavored, you can win against it. And if you are having a specific lineup, that's a little bit of the problem of the Warlock. And yeah, people are trying a lot with these two decks already because they're so strong. Rogue seems like the third deck to go to, I think. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of Druid. I feel really not so great about Druid, both versions, Jade and Aggro. But it's hard to find a good fort. It's just a big struggle in the tournament. What is your good fort deck?
If you look at the meta right now, there is Priest and Warlock on like tier 1, best decks, crazy powerful.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, no other deck that I build is anywhere near as powerful as that. And then you're like, well, how do I still get wins then in that instance? And you look at strategies where you're like the Mage, where you're like, all right, well, I'll just make a deck that loses to those but beats aggro every time. And so I'll just kind of ignore it. Or I'll build a deck like Rogue, where sometimes I draw Keleseth, and then, wow, my deck is as good as Priest and Warlock now, so I can actually be on equal footing. So there's different sorts of ways that people are adjusting to the fact that those decks are so powerful. But yeah, it's scary with the Rogues, because if you don't draw Keleseth, you're unfavored in both of those matchups.
Yeah.
So, but if you do, you have a chance. So you have to kind of adjust and get a little high rolly with your third and fourth deck.
Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Radu? If they pretty much summed up the meta?
I mean, you can look at it like what's the best ban. I think we're going to see different strategies. We don't have a consensus yet on if it's better to ban Priest or Warlock yet. And different players are trying different strategies with either banning Priest or banning Warlock. For example, I think that Mage is very bad against Warlock, but actually has a good shot of beating Priest. So if you have a ban Warlock matchup, Mage is like a very good third deck.
Okay.
And then like Aggro Druid, for example, is weaker against Priest, but has a good chance of just beating Warlock. So you have different schools of thought here.
So I've got a statement here that I'd like to know if you guys agree with. We have a tournament meta right now where the best class is often not the banned class. Is that true or not true? So like a lot of people have been saying the Priest is the best deck.
Well,
but Warlock is the ban.
It's the best deck overall, but it's not the best deck in the tournament, I think.
Okay.
So
it's really hard to compete with the consistency of Warlock is the thing. Like, Priest might just be the best at just dealing with random decks, but in the specific metagame, getting a Void Lord out on turn 6 is really good versus a lot of decks, and it happens almost every time if you just mulligan correctly with Warlock.
Okay.
Like, the consistency of that deck to get a Void Lord out on turn 6 really just pushes so many things out of the metagame and just auto wins versus a lot of board control decks.
So how does that happen where the best deck is not the best deck in the tournament? What's caused that?
I mean, the meta with one ban is different than the meta on ladder. Like, on ladder, when you queue a game, you theoretically queue your best deck. In a tournament, when you queue a tournament, to say so, you play your best 4 decks. So, like, there's, like, different matchups that you don't see that much on ladder. For example, Priest is very good against 1, 2 decks. But if you look at Warlock, maybe it covers the 4th and the 3rd deck. And if you can ban one deck, then it becomes slightly better than even the best deck. So it can be like you can have a situation like here where the best deck in the tournament differs from the best deck from ladder.
Okay.
imagine a ladder where there is no Priest.
Right.
Or imagine a ladder where there is no Warlock. It changes the game. It changes everything.
There's really only like 2 or 3 real decks that can actually handle Warlock and what Warlock does. It's so hard because you need some sort of burst combo or you need to be able to kill him before turn 6. And not too many decks in the current metagame can like support having that in them.
Let's try and get a little bit more specific because we're saying Priest and we're saying Warlock. So are we talking about Razaka's Priest?
Yeah.
Or are we talking about like, all of the Priests?
Well, no,
what do you think of
Razaka's
Spiteful and Dragon?
They seem a little bit worse than Razaka's.
Yeah.
I think it's much better to bring the Razaka's Priest. There's some merits to the Dragon Combo Priest that's been putting up a lot of numbers. People even started including some extra cycle in that. We saw someone hit #1 legend with it like yesterday.
There are a few variants in the World Championships as well. Like
we have Sintalol bringing the Dragon Priest.
That's right.
Ant is bringing one as well. Yeah, a different variation.
Doc Pone, we were seeing earlier today, he beat Hoy and he was playing the Dragon Highlander Priest, which is another sort of different variant.
Well, yeah, you want to take a little bit of a variant on your Highlander Priest because a lot of people will be banning the Priest. And if they're not banning the Priest, oftentimes they have some strategy to deal with it. So if you're bringing cookie cutter Razaka's Priest, you're going to find yourself in a spot where, oh, geez, they brought Armor Up Druid and they have exactly the cards to out-armor the generic standard Raza Priest. So you kind of just want to throw one little extra card in there, which throws them for a loop. So that's why you see like Lyra's being included right now and people switching to the Dragon variant because that little bit of extra unpredictability makes it so much harder to target that deck specifically.
Okay, so slightly more complicated one, I guess. Warlock. Are we talking cubes? Are we talking Rin? What do you think makes the ideal Warlock deck for this tournament?
It really depends on the ban, right?
It depends on your ban.
Like, for example, if you ban the Warlock, you can play Cubes, and Cubes is like a variant that is doing well against Priest.
Okay.
But if you ban Priest, then you can just focus on the mirror match. But the thing is, the people that play Cubes, they all ban the mirror match. So if you play a version for the mirror match, you're only going to face other Warlocks that also build for the mirror match. So you have to make sure that your version is grittier. So like you build the greediest Warlock possible while still managing to beat aggro and you just ban Priest. Or you build Cube Lock and you ban Warlock. That's the 2 strategies for playing Warlock.
Okay, great.
Yeah, or just a strategy with your lineup in general. Like the cube list is not so great against aggro. You play Giants, you play cubes, so like they are not going to stop you against aggro. But play a really defensive Warlock and suddenly your rogue matchup gets super strong.
Okay, now let's go back to Mage because that sounds like a very interesting conversation.
Well, we are at 2-1, so it's...
You're 2-1, 2 for the Mage and 1 against. So Thijs and Radu,
predictable, man.
These guys are teammates as well, so maybe there's a reason that they're agreeing on their lineups. But talk me through this Mage deck. What is it that makes it so strong?
It's just very good against aggro, and it's not super bad against Priest. So it fits perfectly with ban Warlock strategy.
Okay.
Like, you can actually fatigue Priests. The way Priest beats you is if they have a really good hand or if they have Lyra in their deck. But a lot of people have been going for Auctioneer. I don't think people here play Lyra that much.
There's about half and half.
Yeah, it's pretty
Okay,
even.
half and half.
One of the players earlier was playing both Auctioneer and Lyra, actually.
Oh, that's pretty good against the Mage.
Yeah.
But like, I think if the Priest version is very standard, you can just play the Mage and then you maybe play J-Druid in the lineup and then you play like Q Block and your own Priest and you like kind of have a good shot of even freeing the Priest.
It was Tom 60229. He played both Lyra and Auctioneer.
I just feel that the Mage is just so fitting for this tournament as it's one of the only decks. I think it's really good against Rogue. It's
very
super good against Rogue. And I also think it can do quite well against J-Druid. I think you are like pretty fine there. And these are the rest of the other decks are all aggro decks.
I think everyone is overestimating the mage's ability to beat priest. I think,
a little bit, yeah.
I think
It's
that
not
is
that
just,
good. It's
people
not
are
that
trying to say that it beats priest. I think that's just made up. I think the people that are playing the priest are just going to be able to fatigue the mage every time.
I agree on you, but I feel like you're not even winning against priest. The priest loses to itself. If it's just too slow, if it has like a Raz or Anduin at the bottom 5.
If it's in the bottom 5, then they have to use the resources weird. But if they have it early enough, then they just remove all your water elementals, take it to fatigue, you're dead.
It doesn't really work that way. Like the mage has a lot of pressure. For example, with Alana.
Like they got like one person has Alana, one person doesn't.
Okay, how do you beat Alana? Like other than Anduin, you have no way of dealing with her.
Psychic Scream is
Psychic Scream.
Yeah, but then you don't win in fatigue.
Wait, you don't actually need to win in fatigue.
You don't need
like
fatigue.
fatigue is an option, especially with the other mage. You look at Frozen's mage disc. There's no Alana. There's no Medivh. There's only Alexstrasza. You can fatigue that deck all day.
You just said earlier that you want to go for fatigue. Like what?
Well, there's 2 different mage decks that are very different. One has Alana and Medivh. The other does not.
Okay, how do you beat the Alana Medivh one? You go for fatigue, and
No,
then
you just hit him in the face. You're priest. You have infinite damage.
Okay, we have another show
They got
match coming up
15
later
healing in their
today.
deck.
It's
so
gonna be
you play
Thijs versus Firebat,
you play
mage
Anduin,
versus
and then
priest.
they play Alana, and then you have like.
you psychic scream.
Can I get some
and then you don't
popcorn?
win fatigue.
You don't need to win fatigue. The max health of the mage is what? They have 30. They get their ice block pop. They heal to 15. You pop them again. So 45 total health. Have you ever played priest and been like, wow, I can only do 45 damage? No,
Well,
you're always like, I can easily hit him for 100.
Most of the lists, have like double Dirty Red. They have like double Arcane Artificer. I think it makes it quite difficult. Like the matchup seems good on paper, and ideally you can like go to fatigue. But if you actually play the matchup, you'll see like it's not like that.
Well, what do you think about the one then that has no threats? You look at Frozen's mage list with no Dragon Caller Alana, with no Medivh. What do you think his chances are against priest?
That one you can beat.
You can fatigue it every time.
Yes, that version. But I'm talking about like
the greedier version.
The greedier version.
The one that
cannot.
Scintillo's playing.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one I don't think you can beat with priest that easily.
That easily.
I think you're even unfavored.
I don't think you're unfavored, but I give you that it's harder.
Yeah.
Is that you can't fatigue it, so now you have to do something else. But yeah, a lot of the mages, I think the priest can figure out a way to win.
Still, like the deck is not that bad versus priest, which is like very good, and then it beats aggro. So what would you want more from?
Well, do you beat aggro though? Now that you have Dragon Caller, Alana, and Medivh, now you got that whole problem going.
You have the best AOE in the game, the Dragon's Fury.
Firebat really does not like this mage deck.
He didn't play it probably.
He didn't play it
I
properly.
played the mage deck. What?
What do you have brought as 4 decks, not knowing now?
Knowing now, I really like Muzzy's and Purple's lineup. I like just going standard. I think for this tournament, the way that I would have approached this is I would have been like, all right, so it's the World Championship. It's super high pressure. Everyone's going to overthink it. Yeah. Let's go bring the most standard things we can possibly do, which is what I did.
They have aggro druid as 4th?
Yeah, aggro druid I think is the best, just standard 4th. So like that's what I did in 2014 too. I was like, people are going to do some crazy stuff.
And
let's play Zoo, Hunter, and Druid, and just do the normal thing. I think a lot of people get into these spots where they're like, I got to be super creative and do this weird stuff and next level everyone. And they go so deep with it that at the end of the day, the best thing to do is just play the standard things that have the best win rate.
And you can play Firebat's World Championship lineup right now if you go onto the Tavern Brawl. Have you had a go yet?
I have not actually
It's
played
actually a lot of
I've
fun.
watched people play it.
Comes up with
it
little
looks
fun
cool.
facts, and the cards are unnerfed. It's great.
I got to see it, but I didn't actually, I don't have a
some-
computer, so yeah.
Let's play some Force of Nature.
Force of Nature Savage Round.
Party with the Innovate.
Innovate as well, yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
All right, so Muzzy and Purple, you said best lineups.
I think so,
Yeah?
yeah. They have.
Thijs?
I don't like the aggro druid lineup too much. I like it more than the J druid lineup, but
You like the
I'm on.
mage lineup,
I like the mage lineups.
you do.
I like the control lineups having mage as extra pick.
And Radu, what do you think? Best
I'm going
lineups?
also with the aggro druid lineups. Like I like the mage, but as I said, I really hate Jade Druid, so that kind of like puts it lower for me. I definitely don't like the Paladin lineups and the Hunter lineup from Orange.
Yeah.
I think like Hunter and Paladin are just worse Jade Druids, aggro druids, and I don't really see a good reason to bring that. I think it's very punishable. But I really like the lineups with aggro druid, sorry.
Now, we've already had some pretty exciting games in the tournament, even before this panel. The first few games, we saw Tom60229 take down Orange, and Doc Pone beat Hoy, which, in my opinion, is a little bit of an upset there. Hoy was actually my champion, so I'm already disappointed to see that
bit of bias, I guess.
might not get my packs. But what do you guys think? Was that to be expected?
He brought Paladin, so I don't know. Paladin is not that great.
Okay. So tell me more about Paladin, Radu.
I think Paladin just loses to other aggro decks. Like, it's a little bit better against the Priest and maybe even against Warlock than other aggro decks are, but it's just weak against the aggro decks, and people bring like 2 aggro decks that you're not banning. Like, you're not going to ban Rogue or you're going to ban aggro Druid. So you just have like 2 bad matchups and a good matchup. If you bring aggro Druid, you can get like 2 good matchups and 1 bad matchup. So it's slightly worse, but like this kind of difference doesn't make that much. It doesn't win you or lose you the whole set. But I still think it's like suboptimal to bring Paladin.
Do you guys agree, Paladin?
Yeah, I agree with RDU. If you look at like the ladder statistics of things, Paladin comes out to be the best deck on ladder in almost every bracket. You look like Legend to 5, you're just at Legend. Paladin is like the best win rate by like 1-2%, which is pretty huge on ladder.
Yeah.
But just like RDU said, you're banning one of its good matchups. The reason why it's popular and successful on ladder is because it's good versus the Warlocks and it's good versus the Priest, but you want to ban Warlock and Priest to make your other decks better. So if you're doing that, now you just have unfavorables left over. It's bad versus the decks that you don't see on ladder that you have to bring to tournaments because you have to open it up to 4 decks. So I think it's a big mistake to bring Paladin.
I think maybe, I completely agree, but I thought maybe a mid-range Paladin could be, or a control Paladin could be good.
Control
If you
Paladin?
play that, and you do it with the Mage in the lineup, you have now suddenly 4 control decks I like.
So now we're taking a terrible deck with the Mage,
Are
and
you
we're
talking
pairing it
Auction
with another
Master
terrible
Beardo,
deck to
like-
try and make it work.
It
Look,
goes well against
the
the
more
standard
bad
lineup.
decks you add together, it doesn't make it better.
Yes, it is good against Rogue. It is good against Rogue.
This
You
is like
beat the
direct
Rogues.
counter to Firebat's earlier argument,
No,
which is just bring
the
the
good
best
stuff.
deck.
It's that simple. See, you're overthinking it, and you're just going to control Paladin your way there. It's not going to happen.
All right, so my next question is, are there any wild cards, maybe any players that aren't as popular, aren't as well known, who you think might have a chance of taking away this tournament?
I mean, I think everyone here has a chance to take the tournament for sure. Like, everyone here is of really good caliber and has been doing very, very well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people might not know Tom 60229 as well, but that guy has been winning like everything for the last 2 years.
And today,
And
actually.
today, yeah. He's from the Asian scene, so over here in the European scene and the American scene, we don't know, hear his name or know him too well, but that guy has been on fire for a while, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him just doing extremely well here.
Yeah.
I think all the 16 players, they have proven like it was definitely not easy to already qualify for the regionals,
No.
making it out of the regionals, and then also at the championship getting top 4. I think they all have proven that they can do it. Might be a lot of pressure here, so maybe there will be some players that are going to struggle with that, but I think they all have like at least already that they can prove they are here for a good reason.
My pick is also Tom. I play a lot
Really?
of I play a lot of ladder on Asia, and Tom is crazy consistent there. Like, I have him in my friend list, and I always see him in like top 10, top 20. And I was at a lot of tournaments with him that he performed really well in. He's also winning like crazy amount of tournaments before even qualifying for here. And here he like qualified for like one of the championships, but he also was #1 in points, so he had that secured anyways. It's crazy consistency from him, and I think he's like probably the most underrated player in the tournament. And if Neria doesn't win, it's gonna be Tom.
Okay, so final words. Winner of the tournament will be Naria Tom?
Neria Tom. Neria first.
Naria, then
second.
Tom. All right. Firebat?
All right, Purple first, and then Muzzy, then Tom.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Colento first, just because I can.
Because
I think Frozen can do it too. I have Frozen on second.
You just love the mage.
Yes! Come on, let me.
Well, actually,
You didn't pick the good mage deck. You picked the not so
Oh,
great
you like
mage
the
deck. I like the
Sentinel
other
one?
mage deck better.
oh, here we go again.
Okay, okay, Sentinel too. It's fine. I will pick him too.
Actually, talking to some of the players over the last couple of days, some of them have been saying they think Frozen has the best lineup. Some of them have been saying they think Doc Pone has the best lineup, which I thought was particularly interesting.
I don't like the dog phone lineup, to be
No?
honest now.
I don't like it either.
Doc Pone went on HS Replay and found the decks with the highest win rate and then took those in order, which is a strategy that I think is very good. So he's expecting people to overthink, and I think he's going to do well because of that. I think it's a great strategy to have for some of these high-pressure events is keep it simple.
All right.
It can work out well for you.
Great. Thanks so much, guys. Guys, I believe we are just about done for the first talk. But don't go anywhere, because Thijs and Firebat are going to be sticking around.
Great.
What are you guys going to be talking about next?
Probably mage. The way things have been going.
So for 1 hour of these guys arguing about Mage, stick around. That's, we'll catch you later. Thanks for watching.
Cool.
All right.
If he's planning on using branching paths for armor, then he needs to use this nourish for card.
Cool.
So no host, so we're gonna take it now ourselves. I know.
Do we just go into it, or is there a break, or?
You need a break.
Just go. We're done.
Oh, we're done.
We just
okay.
go. All right, cool. All right.